Marathon Money presents Inside the Ticker Cloud.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Marathon Money. We actually changed the name from Marathon Money with CEO interviews to Marathon Money Inside the Ticker for this segment. So we're coming out with season 2, and our first guest is Kevin Chen. And man, I was really happy to have him on. He's on the board of CURR, which is the ticker symbol CURR. And he's on many boards actually as well, but I'll let him tell you that. So Kevin, go ahead.
Hi, Kenny. Great to see you. And it's my honor to join this program and talk about CURRENC Group. And indeed, I'm on many other company boards that are publicly traded on the NASDAQ and also on Toronto Stock Exchange. Used to be also some on the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah.
So what made you want to join CURR, by the way, since that's the first one we're talking about? What made you want to join them?
Yeah, sure. So my background, I'm kind of really, kind of traditional finance background. I got a PhD from University of Lausanne in Switzerland. And before that, I studied in Holland. And before that was in China. And we run an investment management firm in New York City. And I've been teaching at New York University for the past 12 years. I'm still teaching at NYU now as an adjunct professor. And at NYU, one of the courses I teach is actually fintech. And financial technology has evolved a lot. I would say it's getting more and more important. So I'm always interested in fintech. And then CURRENC Group, in fact, it is, I would say, a very important fintech company from Asia, headquartered in Singapore. But does, I would say a lot of business across Asia, Pan-Asia, from Hong Kong to Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, etc. And also financial technology in the end is really about efficiency, using technology to reduce cost for people to when they need to transfer money across borders. And in particular, the core group that CURRENC Group serve, in fact, are the, I would say, the lower income, I would say, laborers who migrate between different countries. And then when they need to send home, $50, $100, $150, to use traditional banks, really, it's not feasible. The fees are too much, right? Think about if you understand, let's say $100 from, one country to another, if you use a traditional bank or even, any traditional, wire transfer service, they probably will charge, 15, 20 bucks per transfer, right? That's going to be something like 20% of the money you transfer. So a fintech company would charge much, much less, and, probably less than 1% fee. So instead of paying $20, you probably will pay a bit less than $1 for $100 transfer, and that really saves money for those migrant workers who essentially send money to their home for them to buy some daily grocery, rice, a bit, egg, the stuff essentially. So it's a pretty exciting company, and also I think huge growth potential going forward. Yeah.
So, what makes it CURR different from other e-wallet platforms?
Yeah, sure. I would say what makes it different. CURR, CURRENC Group, CURR, originally was a company that sells minutes. If you recall, I think probably until 15 years ago, a lot of those telephone companies, right? You actually buy minutes, right? Like, when I remember until probably 10 years ago, when you call someone, you don't want to spend too much time on the phone because there's a minute, like it's 300 minutes or 500 minutes per month limit. And in the US, or for some telecom providers. In Asia, in Africa, in other countries, it's even more expensive when people call each other. So CURRENC Group originally was based in Southeast Asia, that sells minutes to, I would say, relatively poor people. When they need to text home, when they need to call home, you buy 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you trade those minutes. And then that kind of evolved from minutes to how about I send some money over the phone, and then expanded to Hong Kong, etc. So what it differentiates Currency Group from others, I would say it's a fundamental technology. It's a company started with a very, very humble root, and then you serve a lot of people in Indonesia, are those a lot of those islands that you probably have something on the island. There are probably a bunch of you can think about similar to like a deli or store in New York. Essentially, people go there to buy daily grocery and buy some minutes, and can transfer a bit money from your relative who is labor worker in another country, and then go from there. You put technology on, which is totally different from, I would say, a typical fintech company. Usually it's a top down fintech company, start from Silicon Valley, and with a lot of VC money support, you burn through money and then build a great technology platform, and then go public. So this is actually the other way around. You go from a very I would say humble root, and then grow up from I would say from really, I would say, for the communities who need help. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's actually an amazing way to start and evolve. It seems like you guys are like very innovative from going from minutes to pretty much currencies.
Yeah.
So, you're an independent director. So how does your actual influence on the direction of the company? What's behind the curtains?
Yeah. As a board member, we have the fiduciary responsibility. We need to answer, to the public shareholders, right? And by regulation, all the public traded companies need to have a board that's majority independent, and we essentially serve the public interest. And so the board needs to work with the management very, very closely, but also needs to vote and decide on the major decisions, the direction of the company, the expansion, capex investment. Now, where do we want to put more resource into? And also look at financials, look at a lot of details. How is the margin this quarter versus last quarter? What are the new exciting area, and what are the areas that we need to improve? And also, what are the risk involved? Fintech, it is technology, but also it is finance, right? And finance, it's a lot about regulation, about compliance, about handling risk. Right now, the whole world, you got a lot of hackers around, and all those. It's not easy to run a business, and in particular, it's not easy to run a business in Asia that serves essentially, I would say, the migrant workers, and those transfer, a lot of transfer, very, very small dollar amount. It's not like a bank. You manage huge, corporate finance. It's really more for retail. Yeah. So yeah, as a board member, we are very, very involved with the company.
With the direction that you're presenting for CURR, like how do you see the space, the economy that you're in right now? Man, you're kind of in the e-wallet space, the currency space. Where do you see that space in like 5 years?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, Kenny. I see there's a huge potential because first, to be honest, in the U.S., I would say the society probably got a lot of financial service, but outside of the U.S., in particular, if you go to Southeast Asia, you go to Africa, you go to any emerging market countries, you will see that the financial service is very limited. It's a luxurious item. Most of people there, they don't have a bank account. They can't afford to have a bank account. And so usually what they can have is, right now, because the cell phone is getting more and more, popular, people can afford maybe a cheaper, but still it's a smartphone. And then with a smartphone, you would be able to have some money being transferred between each other. Of course, originally it was a flip phone, right? You do it through minutes, you transfer to each other. But now you can transfer some money to each other. And I think this is the future for finance, in particular for I would say for relatively for the medium to lower income countries, for emerging market countries. They are not, the majority of people in those countries, they're not going to have bank accounts at Citibank or JP Morgan. And these people, they won't even have a bank account with a local bank because banking service is too expensive. But they still need, they have finance need, right? They need to transfer money to each other. They need to pay groceries. They need to pay things. You need to, sometimes they borrow from each other, etc. How do you solve those problems? I think the only solution is technology, fintech. Those tech platforms. Of course, currency will be, hopefully, will be part of it. But I think there will be a lot more tech-enabled platforms come to help those people. And I think, not only in 5 years, but, every year you will see more and more access for people to use fintech platforms for their finance need. Originally, I think it's probably just pay each other, money transfer. But later on, it will be, I think it will be AI. Definitely artificial intelligence, AI, is going to be used for all those platforms and also eventually for some investments. It's not going to be, they're not going to be, buying, hugely expensive US stocks, but, they have some money. They could use those for some savings and for some, small investments, but still, I think provide access. It's going to be more important going forward. It's really from, for them, it's from 0 to 1. Yeah.
So, I have other questions like about some of the stuff you said. And like my one of my questions is, which we'll discuss that more closer to the end of this, which will be like, why do you think that side of the world is so behind the US? I kind of can put my finger on it, innovation. There's not probably that much innovation going on, but also probably culture, but why, if I'm putting my retail investor glasses on, why should a retail investor from the US, because and I have to ask this of you, most of my audience, we got about close to almost 800,000 people that listen and watch. They're retail investors, they're business owners. Why should they put their money into this stock?
Sure.
From your opinion.
Sure. But I'm of course I'm biased, right? I'm on the board. I'm hoping the company would do well, stock will go up, etc. But apart from that, I think in general, I think the emerging market companies, in particular related to technology and finance, they tend to have higher growth number, because it's about, for a lot of people, it's from nothing to have something. While in the US, it's pretty saturated market, right? You probably have, several bank accounts, you have a lot of easy access to a lot of money transfer ways to each other. But in, I would say, most of the countries outside of the US, financial service is actually pretty expensive and it's not accessible. So if we can even do a little bit more, then I would say the company growth should be very, very good. And also, if you look at population, Southeast Asia, which is a base of CURRENC Group. In fact, CURRENC Group, if you look at some of the measures, it is the largest fintech, transfer platform from Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, you got more than 2 billion people. Indonesia, Malaysia, those are even Vietnam, right? They got a lot of population, and if you can serve part of the population, that's already a huge market. And also, people, they are hungry for technology because they never had access to those. At some point, I'm hoping I can show you some of the videos in future how when some of the when we start to open, let's say, a service to, let's say, for some Filipino workers, when they need to send money from Philippines to Malaysia to Indonesia, you can see that how excited are those people when they started to use the app to send money home. And then and in fact, it's being sent over to some, let's say, some island on Indonesia. The receivers are their relatives, their family members, right? When they got money, quite often you'll be amazed, but it's like $30, $50 transfer, right? They're going to not actually take money out. They're going to actually directly convert into grocery in the basic deli shop, local one, like almost like New York small deli, and they'll grab a bag of rice, some eggs, some cooking oil, etc., and use a scooter to bring home. That's a money transfer. So it's actually pretty surreal versus think about money transfer business in the US. And why it will grow, I think that area, people, the population is young, and they are growing pretty rapidly, and hopefully they will make more money, they will do more transfer.
Yeah, no, I get it. You guys have a massive population over there, and there's a lot of people that underserve in that space when it comes to receiving or transferring money, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult to do so. So I understand the market need, get
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but the real question is, how are you guys getting this out that you guys have an untapped market to like retail investors in the US, to them like,
Mhm.
look, we have something here. We have a moat that we can capitalize on, and we can create this and basically turn ourselves into a profitable company where investors will be happy with us.
Sure. Yeah. That's a very good point. I mean, the company, last year, operation-wise itself was profitable, but going to public, the listing process, a lot of fees for the service providers. So that's why it was negative. But the operation itself is profitable. And then I would say going forward, cross-border money transfer service is still a pretty competitive market. And what we're going to do, hopefully, to do better is to be more efficient. And what I mean to be more efficient is really to use AI, use artificial intelligence. A lot of those money transfer, quite often, when something goes wrong, right, you need to call maintain the call centers, right? People call the call centers to say, oh, this part is wrong, that part is change, and all those money got returned, and all those. It used to be a lot of human cost, and those centers are in Malaysia. And going forward, we're going to use more and more AI. And this is an investment, but it's highly, highly efficient. It will help the company to reduce cost and expand more for the business. And when the cost is lower, and hopefully the margin will go up. And that's one part. And also another part is the company is using AI already for some partners. You saw some of the news we released recently, public news about working with some payroll HR company. Think about why we work with a HR payroll company, because when you need to pay employees, right, a lot of the employees, what they're going to do is they will actually send money out to their relatives and all those. And if we can use AI to help the process, in particular, if you're going to make payment to hundreds of thousands of those migrant workers and all those, AI will be much more efficient, and that's a win-win. And then I think that's the future for all those processing. A lot more to be done by AI. Yeah.
Man, so I can actually see it. I can see what you guys are trying to do.
Yes.
But I kind of want to get I fully understand what CURR's doing. I see how you guys are going to accomplish it. You guys are doing it overseas in a market that's untapped. There is a big opportunity. I can see you guys creating that yourself. Is there competition that is out there either they're on the stock market, they're a publicly traded company, or they're not, that will be you guys can see as a rival to you guys?
Sure. I would say, there are some competition, but sometimes competitions are also partners. There's a European based wire cross-border payment wire transfer company. They compete against us, but some part of the world, some countries, they actually use our service. Because you need a license for some of the countries to deliver cash, right, to the local population. So I would say there are some competition, some collaboration, and but in general, finance, I would say money transfer is a huge market. It's a growth market. Of course, the traditional banks want to come in too, right? All the large banks, they want to be in this. That's part of a competition. And also, those I would say the technology companies want to come in too. Think about in the US, almost all the top technology companies, without naming any names, they are involved with payment now. And I'm pretty sure sooner or later they're going to do international payment. And lastly, I want to mention that the major supermarket chains in the US, they're all in the international money transfer business. But in the US, most of them are doing money transfer, to Mexico, to Latin American countries. So right now, they are not competing directly against us in Asia for money transfer, but they could come in too. So the market, I would say, it's very competitive, but everyone has its strengths and weakness. I would say the large traditional banks, the problem with them is the cost. They're too expensive to run, those transfer for, I would say, for emerging market country. Technology companies, there's a license issue too. That let's say if I'm one of the largest American tech company, right? If I go to a Southeast Asian country, the government is going to ask, you need to get a license, go through approval process, and usually those, I would say, elephants. They when they come in, people are a little worried about, are they too powerful? And then we are essentially a local player. We are the largest fintech company based originally from Malaysia, and we got all the license from Malaysian Central Bank, and also now with headquarters in Singapore, which is really next door to Malaysia, right? We have the local advantage, and so it's a competitive market, but also I would say a lot of competitors, but a lot of partners too. And also, I like to mention in an interesting way, of course, the whole world right now is, a lot of countries are having a lot of, I would say, not necessarily conflicts, but, a lot of disagreement with each other. But in general, Southeast Asia, I would say it's a kind of a neutral ground. This area, those countries tend to be friendly with both Western countries and the Asian countries. And so, you tend to have more, Google has its headquarters of Asia headquarters in Singapore. A lot of tech companies are building data centers in Malaysia, etc. It's an area that's considered, open to everyone and work with everyone. That there's no, kind of, strong disagreement with other major powers. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. I really like what I'm hearing. I think a lot of people out there will like what they're hearing. But I do want to get into, before we get to a closing part, you're kind of on the boards of a lot of different industries: oil, fintech, AI, cryptos. So what seems like you get to even EV companies? Like, what makes you so diverse?
Sure. I would say there are two common themes for the companies I'm involved. Number one is they are usually international companies coming to the US capital market. And as a company, if it's based in Singapore, in Australia, or from Middle East, they tend to have international experience, but they might not be too familiar with the U.S. capital market. And I've been based in New York, for almost 20 years, work teaching and then doing research, etc. So I would say, I can add value for those foreign companies. Even I'm on board of a Canadian company that, when they need to be involved in the U.S. capital market, I can provide the connect with them. That's one part. You notice the commonality. And second part is technology. I like technology, and I think the society has a lot of issues, but I think technology is one way to solve a lot of those problems. So that's why I'm involved with those companies that all are involved with technology, whether it's financial technology, sustainable energy development, renewable energy, EV trucks, etc. So use technology, use innovation to help people. That's a common theme also.
Kevin, I really appreciate that. Everything you've done. Well, we're getting close to the end. I appreciate you coming on. I'm definitely excited. I know we talked before the show started about you coming on more often and talk about the other companies that you work on. But I appreciate your time, and thank you for your knowledge about CURR. Thank you for your knowledge about what you do. I think it's very helpful to this type of society. I think a lot of people are going to want to hear more about these other companies that you're involved with. Besides that, man, anything else you want to say before we get off?
Not much. I really appreciate Kenny, for this invitation. I like to, to talk about those companies because these are very exciting deals, and these are companies for future because they are young, they are up and coming, and they are aggressive. They are using a lot of latest technology that could be, I think, be relevant for everyone here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I believe the same way. There is a lot of young and hungry companies out there. There's a lot of companies that a lot of people don't know that there could be opportunities that they can take part in. But besides that, hey, thank you guys. This is Inside the Ticker. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody listening and going to watch this. And Kevin, have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.